Okay, so the streaming is on, but I see I'm missing viewers. So let me take a look how this appears. Um, OBS is reconnected. Just make a sign to myself when I'm doing the edits. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, this is just for myself, when I'm cutting or editing this video, then I get rid of this waiting time so people can jump to the real business. All right. I see that there is not much viewers, but that's okay. I'm still going to do this video, but I will keep it brief. Okay, career counseling for doctoral students and postdocs. And as mentioned in my lecture just a couple minutes back, this is for those master level students that are thinking to career in universities. Wanted to learn how is life in academia. And there are three items. Oh, I see that, there's also case MLs. The case ML is not going to be here in my lectures or in my slide today, so I will leave this. I'm going to take these away. So a little bit about the how is the nature of the business, and then a few hints, and also how is the difference between the doctoral student, postdoc, and associate and assistant level professors. So those are the things that I'm going to shortly discuss in my presentation. Okay, so let's get started. I only have a handful of slides, so I don't think that this will take too long time to follow this presentation. Here comes the first thing. You know, academia is a career choice for relatively low number of people. So if you think about all the master graduates in LUT University, I think that this holds in other universities in Finland and internationally as well. Majority of them, I'm putting here the numbers like 90%. Could be a little, I mean, that maybe that number is not exactly the right one, but you could get the scale in your mind. So 90% of the master level graduates will go to industry, but some of them will stay in academia, and roughly it's 10% that stays in academia. And then it's possible, and it's well, very often the case, that people that are moving to academia will do their doctor degree in university, and then they will move to industry. That sometimes people are asking like if this makes sense to do so. Well, I would, of course, there is a heavily case dependent, but typically the markets are of course smaller for doctors, but I would say that they are more exciting for doctors than master level graduates. But again, like I said earlier, so this is something that is heavily case dependent. So it's hard to give any like fact that this is how it's eventually going to go and this is how it's always going to go. But it's good to keep in mind that it's only 10% that goes to academia, and it's a relatively low number. So what happens when you do this selection then? Now, university doctors. So once you get your doctor degree, so this is kind of like if you look at this picture here, this 10%. So now we're looking at 10% from the master graduates. What happens to this 10%? So these 10% will be such that once you get your doctor degree from university, you will go to industry. And that percentage is also fairly high. So it's assumed that it's going to be 75% from university doctors that is moving to industry. And then some 25% will stay in university. And out of this 25%, 20% goes to research line, 5% only to teaching line. This teaching line includes the University of Applied Sciences as well. Those are heavily emphasizing the teaching activities. But again, majority of graduates, doctorate graduates, goes to industry. And then there is always this possibility that some of the doctors will stay a couple of years in university and then they decided to go to industry. This line, this arrow here is much thicker than the arrow other way around. So it's possible, not easy, but possible that once you're selecting this industry line, that you can go back to the university. This used to be a policy a couple of years back. Like I can be a good example. So I got my doctor degree in 1997. And right when I got my doctor degree, I went to industry. And after a year or so, I went back to the university. So at the time, it was possible. At the moment, it's going to be difficult. And it's difficult simply because university employees and university doctors, postdocs, and assistant level professors are evaluated based on the production of papers, how much they have published. And if you move to industry, then you typically don't publish at all. And that's why it is difficult to do well in a competition where you are compared against your peers that being in a university all the time. So if you get your doctor degree, you go to industry for 2 years, then your publication record during this 2 years time will be zero or very little. Whereas those ones that are staying in academia, their publication record will be okay. It will be maybe 5 papers or something like that, which is much more than zero. And then because the evaluation is heavily emphasizing the number of papers, those ones that are staying in academia and in universities are doing better. So that's why this arrow here is very thin. So it's not easy. I personally feel that that's a little bit unfortunate, but that seems to be the name of the game. And that seems to be the name of the game because the competition is severe. It's really serious competition. So that's why. Okay. Then another observation. These are like breaks that, how the career in academia goes. It's very often the case that the doctoral student, once they get the doctor degree, is not continuing as a postdoc. We learned that already in this slide. So it's 20%, 75% will go out. But also another like career break, something that is a great challenge, a big challenge, is the move from postdoctoral position to assistant professor position. Why? Because the university is built like a pyramid. So in a pyramid, there is way more doctoral student position as there are postdoc positions. And again, as there is a much less assistant level professor positions as there are postdoc positions, so on and so forth. Some people can stay in associate level professor entire life, so you don't need to make your way to full professor. So that's okay. But if you stay in a lower position than that, those are typically not permanent positions. So eventually you need to leave from university. And it goes here. You go here and you take this line back to the industry. And there's nothing wrong to being in industry, other way around. So it's quite exciting in being in a university, industry. But it's good to keep in mind that competition in university is pretty severe. And there is it's like ladders that are hard to climb up. And there's always these holes that you can drop. And once you move to, you go these holes, you go to industry. And it's hard to continue in a field of academia. Okay, then master level students, doctoral students and postdoc, how is that they are having different skills? Master level students learning new concepts, being able to deal with complicated matters is an essence. That's something that is super, super important. Now, whereas in a doctoral levels or doctoral student, you need to be able to be productive and you need to be able to deliver. So it's no longer enough that you can memorize something and you can do something that is highly complicated, but you need to be able to contribute to this area that is somewhat complicated. The postdoc needs to be the one that is standing up and being the leader in this complicated area. And that's another big difference versus the doctoral student. So this is how you can see that how the skills are evolving and changing from one position to another position. Now, if I take another line here, knowledge from the different methods and disciplines are important. Like we're learning this flexible multi-body dynamics in our course. That's important. Doctoral student is important to understand the big picture and relative differences between the different methods. And when the postdoc, then the ability to combine the knowledge from different disciplines, that be what becomes to be very important and critical. Now, master level students, their storytelling skills, which is like how you put your knowledge in a nice package, is not mandatory. It's just not the big deal. In doctoral students, it becomes to be important. And in postdoc level is a must. So you have to be able to tell your story. You need to be able to tell the people why you do your work. Otherwise, there's no way that you can be successful. No way whatsoever. Okay, I have a couple more slides. Not so many, but a little bit of slides here. Nature of the business. How much or how is it you can work then if you're taking this research line? This is roughly the numbers, and of course, this is just my opinion about the numbers. So research should take 70% of your time. Applying funding will be 50%, teaching supervision 10%, community service 5%. This is for professors. And how it will be then divided. Research will be paper production as a team member, international visits more than 6 months, and so on, networking, and the funding in different funding sources. And then teaching and supervision. Well, you can see a little bit of numbers, a little bit about, what these are covering. Community services are reviewing articles, being involved with the special issues, organizing conferences, being a part of the editorial boards, and being even the editors. And that comes to, I would say that the most important slide of my presentation, my last slide as well. When you eventually applying, or let's say that you go, let me take myself back here. You are at the moment master level student, you're selecting academia, then you get your doctor degree, you want to stay in academia, and you want to take this research line, which is the most significant line. And then you are here. You are moving from doctoral students to postdoc. And when you're now looking for assistant professor position, which is typically the way things getting started as a professor, it's very important to understand the nature of the selection process. And this picture here tells a little bit about the nature of the selection process. Your career, academic career, gets started once you get your doctorate degree. I got that information from my YouTube that there's some kind of weird streaming problem. Hopefully it will soon disappear. Okay, but anyways, I'm back to this graphical representation, and in this graphical representation, x-axis is standing for time, and the time gets started once you get your doctorate degree. And the first year, this is the first year, second year, third year, and so on and so forth. And then this is an accomplishment, which is measured in a way like how much papers you've been able to produce, how well you have succeeded in getting external funding, how is your activities in teaching, supervising master level students, doctoral students, and how is your community service. And details of each of these items are mentioned in my previous slides. And now the selection process goes such the way that time is set once you get your doctor degree, like I mentioned earlier. And then I have here two candidates, like hypothetical candidates here. Both of them have a roughly same amount of accomplishments measured by using these four items here. First candidate received his or her doctor degree 4 years ago, and the second candidate received her or his doctor degree 8 years ago. Now the selection goes such the way that there is a line that gets started here in zero, when there's zero accomplishment, zero time, and then there's a line that is drawn from this point to point where you are at the moment, and then is extracted in a point that you are is about to your retirement age. Is a linear extrapolation, simple linear extrapolation. And this is where they are thinking that your final accomplishment will be. So this is like close to the sport. Soccer teams, they're hiring young talents, and they think, okay, this young talent could be this and this valuable in the future. And they do the math in a way that I don't know how they do it, but in academia, it's like linear extrapolation. All right. So this is going to be your accomplishment before your retirement age. How was this first candidate? The same accomplishment, but in 4 years, now they will do the line here, and then they will extrapolate the line here, and this is your accomplishment then. You see that there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference where you end up to be. And of course, they're going to hire this candidate instead of the one that was spending 8 years to do the same accomplishment. That's why the years right after doctor degree are the most critical years. So you need to make sure that you're doing really well after those years. Now, there's also this 15 years time here, mentioned here, 45 years old. This is typically which becomes to be hard to move to universities. So if you are not finding a position at the age of 45, it becomes to be increasingly difficult. Some universities, not in Nordic countries or not in Finland particularly, they even mentioned the year. If you're older than this particular number, don't even bother to apply because we are not going to hire you no matter what. And typically it goes such the way that the first 15 years after your doctor degree is considered as a basic training period, something that people are not expecting you to accomplish that much. So basic training period. And then the really like competition period is typically 10 to 20 years from that. This is when you are the most productive as a professor. Maybe your scientific accomplishments are made earlier than that, but in terms of all these items, research, funding, teaching, community service, typically the period after 15 years is the one you are the most productive. All right, so this was my short explanation about how is a life in academia. Hope you enjoyed. There is one more slide, but I don't know if this is important. Oh, yeah. Well, this is just a few observations. Work hard for your dreams. Think big. This is important. So it's like now in the Winter Olympics, people are not there to just to work. So they don't. It's not like day in day out in the office, but they have a big dreams. And in academia too, it's important to have a big dreams. Time management is a key for success. Attitude is really what matters. Learn to deal with the criticism in the way that it's not going under your skin because academia is all about the criticism. You receive the criticism for a number of different sources. Even when you try to publish a paper, sometimes the criticism is nasty. You get the criticism from your students that you're not, you know, you don't respond to emails and so on and so forth. You can get the criticism here and there. You just need to learn from the criticism. Very important to learn from that. We're not allowing that to go to your brains or under your skin. And again, don't try to accomplish too much in a too little time because this is an endurance sport. Manage your time as well as you can. Build networks, make visits. This is really the true nature of the academia. So We, not just staying in a one university, but go and visit a number of universities to build a strong network. So with that, I guess this was like 20 minutes in a length. I'm gonna close this streaming, and I'm gonna make a minor edits tomorrow. So we'll take this part of the beginning that was not active away,